I love my financial coaches and my financial gurus, but I do think that many of them focus on the actions. They tell you what to do and what not to do without really understanding what causes us to do all the things that are making us not have the money we want, like the overspending and things like that. They're focusing on the actions, but they're not focusing on what's causing the actions. And I think that's where I come in a little different, a little fresh. And then that's once you figure out, oh, it's just because I'm a human with a human brain, then you can give yourself some compassion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another conversation with Elevate, Educate, and Inspire. This evening, we are having a conversation with the lovely Germaine Foley. Germaine is a life and money coach. But before I allow my partner, Nikki, to introduce her, let me just say a little bit about myself. I am Karen Williams-Thompson, master strategist, life coach, and I help people discover their why and become crystal clear on their purpose, what they want, and why they want it. I often share when you discover your why, that is half of the challenge sorted. Then you can go on to create your strategies and your plan to live the life that you have imagined for yourself in the way that you want for yourself. So this evening, it's not all about me. I'm going to toss it over to Nikki now and let Nikki introduce herself and our wonderful guest. Nikki?
Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Laidler, and I am a health crisis strategist. Basically, what that means is I am laser focused on doing my part to address the disparities we see in healthcare. I do so by helping single moms, and specifically single moms. I want to help them navigate through critical illnesses that they may have, and by building a plan that they can just execute so that while they're going through that serious illness and that critical illness and their minds are spinning, they don't have to think and they don't have to come up with a strategy. We already have one because we've met and we've talked, and all they have to do is press a button. So that's what I do. And now I'm here with my friends. I tell you guys all the time, we've had a few episodes now. These are my girls. And I'm here with Germaine Foley. She's amazing. I couldn't wait for her episode. I feel this way about all the episodes. So forgive the redundancy when I say that, because I really do mean it. You guys are so amazing. I'm here with Germaine. Germaine is a life and money coach. She helps us so much, ladies. Now, you've heard me say in the past that as we are navigating through life, the first thing we need to do, right, is to get our minds right and get our bodies right. Well, we also have to have our money tight, right? We have to have our money in a place where we see it and we see the results of all our labor. We see the fruits of all of our labor, and we don't squander it. We don't overspend it. But in addition to we see the fruits of our labor, how do we feel about it as we're making that money? And that's what my friend Germaine is going to do. She's going to help us walk through some key principles and some gems that can help us as women.
My name is Germaine Foley. I am so happy to be here. I'm a life and money coach, and I help successful women stop overspending so that they can have lots of money. And we're going to do that without strict budgeting or giving up their lifestyle. And that is what I love to do.
I love it. I just need you to say that one more time. What do you do? How do you help us?
I help you stop overspending. Let's. I just want us all to have a lot of money. Good things happen when women have money. And that's my job. I want to help you have as much money as you want.
Yeah. So, Germaine, that must be a most interesting prospect, because as women, it's such a spontaneous thing to want to spend, you know. I mean, I was sharing before when we chatted that I love shoes. And shoes may not be in the budget for this month, but I may be somewhere in the mall, in the store, and I see the shoes. And Germaine, I'm convinced that they're saying my name. They're saying, Karen, take me with you. Take me with you. And I convinced myself that I need to buy these shoes. So how do you help us navigate things like that? How do you help us change our mind so that we hold on to that money?
Yes. So I'm so excited to share this with you because that is me. Like, I am a shopper. I love cute things. They call my name too. But what I learned was that the way we are wired as human beings has a lot to do with it. I used to just think I was bad with money, or that I didn't have self-control, or that I didn't have discipline. But, and if you're ready, I can start kind of diving into this for your for the audience. But
Yeah,
there's something deep. There's something deeper going on. As human beings, I like to say we have fancy brains. Our brains are extremely, extremely fancy. And there's this part of us that is all about seeking pleasure. That's all we want to do. Some people seek pleasure with food. Some people seek pleasure with shopping. Hello, I'm one of them. And it's all about understanding that. And once you understand it and then make a decision with your higher self, a different part of your brain, that, hey, I'm going to decide ahead of time what I'm going to spend my money on. So anytime I'm in the moment, I have a process that I go through that says, okay, hey, I already decided what I'm going to spend my money on. If I want this, I'm going to have to decide that at a different time. So yes, there's a way to kind of stop that, because it's just your primitive brain, that part of you that just likes to kind of get that quick hit of dopamine, that pleasure. I mean, we know how it feels when you buy that thing, but then unfortunately, sometimes on the back end, there's those negative consequences that we have to contend with. Like, our bank account isn't where it should be. Our savings isn't where it should be. Our debt is growing. We don't want it to do that anymore. So yeah, there's a lot going on neurologically, psychologically, with why those shoes are calling your name.
So I just want to jump in right here, because that to me is exactly why I partnered with you. I knew that when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I knew that I needed to think about things differently. I knew that, I've always made money. I've always worked in corporate. I've never had a problem bringing the money in. But this go round, at this age where I am in my life right now, I just want to look at it differently. I want to think about it differently. And those things that you're working with me on, I just love. I'm like Karen. I went to the grocery store the other day. Went to the grocery store just to get a bag of ice. Yeah, boy. And one, don't go to the grocery store hungry, because I left with ice cream and sprinkles, rainbow sprinkles and all of that. But a bag of ice is a couple of dollars. I ended up spending $60, right? So the things that you helped me to understand, my process, my thinking, my thoughts, and how it connects to why I spend and how I can control it. That's the power, how I can control my thoughts so that I can say, all right, I have enough sprinkles at home. I have enough ice cream.
Right. Exactly.
That's like saying we have enough shoes.
I didn't want to go there. You saw my class. That's a whole other session. That's another session. We're not going to the shoes.
Yeah.
So tell us more, Germaine.
Yeah. So I think that's really a great place to start, because I've heard so many amazing women just say, I have no self-control. I'm not disciplined. I'm just not good with money. And it's just not true. These women are out here doing their thing, making six figures. So how in the world can you be bad with money if you can make that much money? So I help them to just really let all of that go, and then just walk in their power of knowing, like, no, I am good with money. I am. And we really start there. By just understanding that underlying piece that we just touched on, that there's something beneath the surface that is driving you to want to get that quick hit. And a lot of times when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling bored, that's just where we go, because we want to relieve ourselves from that.
I was just about to say that. One of my old managers bought me a pillow that I used to keep on my desk that said retail therapy or shopping therapy or something like that. You know why she bought that? Because my office was right by TJ Maxx. And I swear 3 times a week, because TJ Maxx has, their shipments come in throughout the weekend. I was always there, and she knew it. She was like, oh, and my job was extremely stressful. That's the link that I want to bring it to, right? So I would leave my desk and I would say, you know what? I need to go to TJ Maxx. And I knew what I was looking for. I was like, I need a shot of endorphins. I need a
Yes,
pick-me-up.
that's exactly it. And so something that I do work with my clients on is helping them to understand that, or helping them to learn how to just feel their emotions. Just feel the emotions without needing to get rid of them. Because that's the thing. It's like we get this urge to like relieve the stress or relieve the frustration or relieve the boredom, when what if we could just feel it and let it, what is it going to do to you? Is it going to hurt you? No, it's just a feeling in your body that we can kind of just allow. We can almost be a witness of it. And when I've done this, so listen, you all, I'm going to let y'all in on the secret. I haven't shared this with anybody. I've given up candy with this process. Now, if you know me, we say that our family, it runs in our blood that we just all love candy, right? But using this process, I gave up sweets. I gave up candy per se.
Wow.
And so when I have the urge to have candy, I just notice it and I let the urge be there. And guess what happens? It dissolves. And then eventually it just stopped coming. So now I don't even desire it anymore. So I can help my clients get to that point where they don't even desire to overspend. They still are going to spend, but they're just not going to overspend.
I think of that was powerful. I'm in awe. I'm just shocked. I'm like, wow. What I think of is instant gratification, right? And that, I think, is one of my biggest weaknesses, because I am American all day. And when I see something, I want it. However I feel. If I feel I want some chocolate, right, I'm going to get some chocolate. If I feel I want something to eat, if I want to buy something or whatever, if I have the means, I'm like, okay, I'll just go get it, instead of just sitting in my feelings. That's powerful. And
that is called false pleasure. And let me tell you how you know it's false pleasure. False pleasure, and then I'm going to explain the opposite of false pleasure. False pleasure usually has a negative consequence on the back end. So
if that's ice cream.
So and sometimes it shows up. So let's just stick with the ice cream. It shows up with, sometimes you just don't feel good after you eat so much ice cream. I know when I used to eat too much candy, I would just feel like I just needed to drink a gallon of water because I needed to almost cleanse myself from all the sugar. Then I would feel bloated. Then I would, have withdrawals when I didn't let myself have it. So those are my negative consequences for spending, overspending. Because listen, we're going to spend, y'all. We're not going to not spend. But overspending has negative consequences on the back end. So the opposite of false pleasure is well-being, right? So an example that pertains to shopping and well-being is this. Let's say it's the end of the month and I'm looking into the next month and I ask myself, okay, what is it that I want to spend my money on? And let's say we're going into fall. And I noticed that my fall wardrobe needs a little sprucing up. I need some new boots. I might need a new jacket. Oh, my black pants, I need those too. So I intentionally say I'm going shopping and these are the things I'm going to get. And I'll give myself a little bit of cushion just in case I see a couple other things I want. Now I get to do that. I get to shop, but I'm doing it from a place that is out of well-being, not false pleasure. Because now there's no negative consequences on the back end because I have the money. I've used, money that I set aside for that. And I have the things I need so that my fall wardrobe is intact. So
that's like setting goals that are small, measurable, and achievable. So you don't have that feeling of deprivation anymore, because just like you said, you intentionally decided this is what I'm going to get. So you're able to fulfill that desire of making a purchase of something that you really wanted. But at the same time, you are able to not put yourself in a negative consequence. I think that is really, really cool. And it really comes down to us being disciplined. So discipline really will play a factor in this. How do you find that women respond to this? Like, what kind of challenges do they present to you when they have to make this shift from just how they were to like being more disciplined and being intentional now about their shopping?
Yes. So making the plan, and I'm very honest about this, making the plan is the easy part, right? It's following through with the plan that is the part where coaching really does come in. So the process is really simple. It's you make a plan of what you're going to spend. You follow the plan, right? You allow the urges that are going to come, because they're going to come. You allow them without giving in to them. And from there, you see the results. Like, and you just keep repeating, and you're going to see your bank account grow. Like, if your goal is to save $10,000, or if it's to pay off debt, like, you're going to see that happening. So that's where the power of coaching comes in, because if we have a session and so let's say the client has their plan, and let's say they veered off course a little bit. So that's where the coaching comes in. We'll see, okay, what were you thinking? Why did you do that? We really dive deep. What were you thinking? Why did you do that? How are we going to not do that next time? So there's a process to that to really see what happened. Now, any action that you take is driven by a feeling that you were feeling. And those feelings are coming from something you're thinking. It could be as innocent as, I got to have it. And then you feel that desire, and then you go do the thing. And I give them strategies. I give my clients strategies, especially if like it's not working for them. Like, okay, let's say you find yourself at TJ Maxx, Nicole, and you weren't supposed to be there. You weren't planning to be there, and you see something that you just must have. What do you do? Right? That's the question. So one of the strategies I use is, hey, you can have it, but you got to wait 24 hours. Like, make that pact with yourself. Make that promise to yourself. If I ever see anything that I just have to have that wasn't in my plan, we're not going to say no forever. We're just going to say no for 24 hours. And then if after the 24 hours, you've slept on it, you want to go back and buy it, go ahead and do it at that point, because now your higher self, your prefrontal cortex, which is like the part of your brain where you make all your smart decisions, is now back in charge. In the moment, that primitive brain is in charge, that I got to have it. So you want to just pause and say, okay, if I want it, I'll come back tomorrow. And then you let your prefrontal, that like really smart part of your brain, be in charge, and then decide. I do this all the time, and I hardly ever go back for the item, ever.
Well, Germaine, how are you going to help me? Because I did part of that. I went, I saw, and I left, and I said, okay, I'm going to think about this. Okay. I'm going to think, and when I get back, if it is still there, then it was for me, and I'm going to purchase it. And then when I got back, it was gone, and I was upset.
Well, that sounds like you shop at TJ Maxx.
It sounds like you shop at
TJ Maxx is gone. You don't have time.
Let me tell you, I have a little trick for that. I shouldn't be telling y'all this, because I hide the stuff that I want to come back for.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
What do you want your life to be like? And you can pick an age, like 65. And I asked myself this question, and this is what I want to do. I have 2 sons. So every year I want to take my 2 sons, my grandchildren, my daughter-in-laws on like 5-star vacations, and I want to pay for it all. Okay, that's what I want to do. I witnessed someone do that when I was on a family vacation. We were on a Disney cruise with my boys when they were younger, and his grandmother, she was like, yeah, I'm here with all my kids, and I'm paying for everything. So now if that's my dream, how am I going to get there? So I have to bring that back to today and start planning backwards for that. Another dream I have is that I want my kids to go to school debt-free. Okay, that's in the future. What am I going to do today to help them to go to college debt-free? So that's where dreaming comes in. And we do definitely do a lot of that. And I say, get outrageous with your dreams. Like, if you could just dream big, and then let's bring it back and decide, okay, what's one step you can do today to get you closer to getting there?
Yeah, let's write up that plan. You mentioned often primitive brain. What do you mean by primitive brain? Because when Karen asked her question, I was like, I know the primitive brain has something to do with helping you navigate through that, helping us to figure out how to stop with those emotions.
Thanks for asking. Thank you. So I like to talk about, like I said, our brains are very fancy, right? So there's a part of our brain called the primitive brain. It's the oldest part of the human brain. And it's the brain that has had us, it's a part of the brain, I should say, that has helped us survive all these years. So if you're here today, your primitive brain is working very, very well. It's very strong. But here's the thing, it's only concerned with your survival. It just wants you to survive. And the way it does that is by doing three things. It wants you to seek pleasure. So if you think back to the days when we were probably living in caves, seeking pleasure was really important because it was pleasurable to eat food. So you needed to go out and hunt and pick berries. Having sex was important. That's how our population, and that was pleasurable. So those things were important back then. But if you look now, we have so many ways to seek pleasure, right? We talked about food and sugar and spending and gambling. There's just so many ways to seek pleasure. And our primitive brain really doesn't understand the difference between now, where we're really safe already, and living in a cave. It still thinks we're in the cave. And so anything that feels good is good, right? So now we're not just eating berries, we're eating chocolate cake, chocolate chip cookies. We're doing all the things, and the brain is just like, oh, this feels good, so it must be good. The other thing it wants you to do is to conserve energy, because back in the cave, you needed to conserve energy so that you can go hunt, right? You also needed to be able to run from the saber-toothed tiger if it was coming after you, right? But today, we don't have saber-toothed tigers coming after us. We do not need to go hunt. We just go to the grocery store, but our brains, they're still wired that way, that part of our brain, where anything that takes energy, it doesn't want to do it. It's like, let's just watch Netflix and chill. It doesn't want you to do anything that's going to kind of use up some energy, or, even when coming to, creating your plan, that takes energy. Some people just don't want to do that. And that's the primitive brain just saying, hey, let's conserve this energy. Because it thinks that you need to do that to survive, when really you need to be exerting some energy so that you can thrive, right? The other thing it wants you to do is to only do the things you've already done before. So I want you to do familiar things. Let's go to the cave. That was important because as long as you do the things you always done, you wouldn't be in danger, right? If you don't go away from the tribe, you'll be fine. If you don't veer over into that neck of the woods, you'll be fine. So stick with what you've already done before. Only eat the berries you've already eaten before. Well, here we need to do, so some of us, we grew up living paycheck to paycheck. We grew up not really having a lot of money. And we're repeating that cycle, that familiar cycle. And our brains think that, oh, it's familiar, it's okay. If it's familiar, it's okay. But really, you want more. So that's what the primitive brain does. It's all about seeking pleasure, conserving energy, and doing the familiar, right? So that's the part that has you shopping. That's the part that has you not wanting to plan. It's the part that wants you to just stay right where you are, even though you know you want more. The opposite of that is your prefrontal cortex. That's this part. This is the part that is only in human beings. And it is the part of the brain that is the last to develop. So like my teenage sons, it's not fully developed. And I tell them that all the time. Like, your brain is not fully developed right now. So, and that's the part that's like your higher self. That's the part that wants you to thrive. That's the part that's telling you, no, we don't want to overspend anymore. That's the part that's saying, yes, let's get off the couch and let's go create this plan. Let's go do this thing. And it's also the part of you that wants something different and more. That is like, okay, this corporate job has been great for so long, but I think I want to start my own business now. Like that's that part of you. But it's like, it's a little bit of a war between this part and that primitive part. But here's the great news. The primitive brain has nothing on your prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, this part is way more powerful.
It's stronger. Good.
So much stronger if you will allow it to be. Yeah.
So we can train it. That was a powerful summary of the different parts of our brains. I don't want to be offensive. I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but what I think about is our prefrontal are the millennials in us, right? They want what's new. They're new. They're innovative. They see, and so they want to explore. But my primitive brain is the old school me. That's like, nope, that's okay. I don't necessarily need to do all of that. I'm good. I can, right? Is that?
Yes, that's really good. A really good analogy. Yes.
If there was one thing then, Germaine, that you would hope that we took away from this conversation today, and these are such powerful conversations, and I really love the fact that, you know, they're by women, for women, and they're all about things that impact each of us, because as women, there are so many things that we really share that we all go through. It's just a matter then of the mindset and how we respond to them. So if there was something that you wanted us to really take away from our conversation today, what's the one thing you would really want us to take away?
I would say listen to your desires. Like whatever that is, I believe that as long as your desires are good and noble, and if it's moving you forward, I say you listen to them and know that they are 100% possible for you, and that you get to decide if they become a reality or not. Like it's really that simple. And understand that there are going to be things, thoughts that are going to try to keep you from your desires. But if you can like just understand what's really happening and just know that you can literally do anything. You can do anything you want. You can achieve anything you want. You can create anything you want. And I will say too, when you are going after those dreams and desires, focus on the why, Karen. I think you're like that, and not the how. I think we get stuck when we have when we find what our dream is. The next question is, but how am I going to get there? And that can be so defeating. But instead of asking yourself, how am I going to get there? Ask yourself, why do I want this? And let that fuel you forward, because we don't know the how. I didn't tell this story, but my husband and I, we paid off over $200,000 in debt. And I couldn't have imagined how I would have done it until I did it, right? So many doors opened, so many things came. I couldn't know the how, but I had that dream. I had that desire, and I had a good why, and it happened. So it's the same thing for you all that are watching.
This conversation needs to continue, because you bring such wonderful things to all of us. So how do we get in touch with you? How can we keep this conversation going with you if someone wants to work with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is just to go to my website. It's GermaineFoley.com, Germaine with a G, GermaineFoley.com. And I'm sure we're going to have a link to it with this video, and go there and explore. I have a really cool guide that'll help you just kind of jumpstart your journey. I also have a Facebook group called Her Life and Money. You can actually link to that from the website as well. So I would love any of your listeners to join me, and I'd love to help them out any way I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This was great. This was a great, needed, wonderful conversation. This conversation was exactly what the title says. It educated us, it elevated us, and it was extremely inspiring. Thanks, sis. I appreciate you. You know I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you all.
That was fantastic. I thank you so much. And Karen, so who do we have next? We're almost at the end of our series, at the end of our first season. So who do we have next?
Next, we have Keisha Leverage. She will be talking to us and sharing with us all about energy. Keisha is also a life coach, but she's going to be looking at it from a different perspective. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be really, really interesting.
Oh yeah, she's going to do a deep dive in the masculine, feminine energy. Oh,
that's it.
And how we show up as women. Oh my goodness, that's going to be amazing. I can't wait for that. So we see you all next Thursday. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you again, Germaine.
Thank you.
See you guys next week.